Welcome to the Hockey Writers Blackhawks Banter, a weekly show with our top Chicago Blackhawks writing crew, bringing you the latest news, rumors, trades, player grades, game results, and much more. From training camp to the playoffs, from Chelsea Dagger to the Madhouse on Madison, our team covers everything that happens with the Hawks. So get comfortable, grab a beverage. It's time for some Blackhawks Banter. Blackhawks Banter.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 51 of Blackhawks Banter. We are brought to you by the Hockey Writers, and of course, you know that you can subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Twitter or listen to us on your preferred podcast platforms. This is our weekly show that discusses all things Chicago Blackhawks, and boy, do we have a lot to talk about this week. I am Gail Kauchak, and we are joined, of course, with the rest of our crew here, Brooke, LoFurno, and Shaun Fillippelli. Unfortunately, Greg Boyson, the fourth member of our crew, had some travel delays from this weekend, and he will not be able to join us today. But with that said, let's jump in. Since we met last week, the Blackhawks have actually won their first two games of the season. Yay! A 5-1 win over the Ottawa Senators November 1st, and 2-1 overtime win this past Sunday, November 7th. Yay! Over the Nashville Predators, which actually Greg predicted that one. So he's not here for us to congratulate him on that one. But unfortunately, in between those two games, the Blackhawks lost two more games, the latest of which was a 5-1 loss to the Winnipeg Jets this last Friday. And that is what prompted the big news, the straw that broke the camel's back for the most part. Interim general manager Kyle Davidson finally was prompted to relieve head coach Jeremy Colliton of his duties. 3 years to the day, mind you, of Joel Quenneville also being let go. So it's pretty coincidental there, or maybe not. But Derek King, who was the head coach of the Rockford IceHogs, has been promoted to interim head coach. And assistant coaches Mark Crawford, Jimmy Waite, and video coaches Matt Meacham and Dylan Crawford are all staying, while Sheldon Brookbake and Thomas Mattel leave with Colliton. So what do we know about Derek Colliton, former head coach of the IceHogs and now the main bench boss for the Blackhawks? Greg has dealt with Derek King for a few years now, covering the IceHogs. And so even though Greg's not here, I would like to read from his preview, because he gave us some good notes on Derek King, and then the rest of us can kind of expand about what we think about this whole move. So let me just read from Greg's post here. When the Blackhawks fired Jeremy Colliton on Saturday, many were surprised that Rockford IceHogs head coach Derek King was named his replacement on an interim basis. Many of us felt Mark Crawford would be a natural pick, but the team went in a different direction. This is a good spot for King to get his first taste behind an NHL bench. The Blackhawks have been so bad this season that the slightest improvement on the ice will make him popular with the fans and the players. I am a big fan of King, having covered him since he took over Colliton in Rockford. He was a veteran of 14 NHL seasons where he scored 261 goals and 612 points. Very laid-back head coach, easygoing personality, likes to make jokes and keep the mood light when talking to the media. King has always said when things are going right, he doesn't have to do much behind the bench, that the guys know where and when to be. And I think we've all heard him saying these things in the press conferences after the win. I don't think King, this is from Greg again, I don't think King is a long-term answer here, but the Blackhawks must hire the new general manager first and let him bring in his own coach. No matter how long King is behind the bench in Chicago, he just needs to take a straightforward approach. This team has been overcoached into a spot where they're completely lost on the ice. He just needs to get this team back to a simple approach, play hockey again, stop thinking, and just play the game. So those are good notes there from Greg. Shaun, we'll go to you first here. Were you surprised when they went with Derek King instead of Mark Crawford?
No, I really wasn't, to be honest with you. And I understand why most would think that Crawford was a natural fit. And obviously a case can be made for that to have been the case. But to me, if you put Mark Crawford as the head coach in this scenario, it feels like you might have just been getting more of the same, as opposed to letting King come up, promoting him in this, even if it's on an interim basis. He's been a coach for over a decade now at the AHL and OHL level. So it's about time he gets his chance. And There's no better time than the present with the Hawks being as bad as they've been to let this guy who's been in Rockford and took over for Colliton over there as well come up and see what he can do at this level. So why not? Why not give him a chance? See what that can do to the vibe for this team and in their locker room, and just see what it can do to change the culture. Beyond all that, Crawford has his own set of controversy in years past. So as opposed to making that any amount of the focus that it really shouldn't be, let King come up and let him have the spotlight.
Okay, yeah, I would agree with all that. And I know that, they have said that they're really going to lean a lot on Crawford. But having kind of that new blood was kind of their approach. So we'll see if it works, right? So Brooke, on to you. The players are, never really going to outright say that they're happy that their coach was fired. But to a certain extent, do you think that they might be a little bit relieved that this has happened?
I don't see it that way, to be honest. I think from Tays and Kane's press conference yesterday, they were talking about how, when a coach gets fired, you kind of feel responsible for it. So I feel like when a coach gets fired, that's kind of an indictment on the players too. That's like kind of the second step of the organization saying, wake up, or changes will be made. We already got the first domino that fell. Now it's on you to show up and play. So in a way, I don't think relieved is the right word. If anything, I think it means wake up call to them saying, okay, something's going to happen here if nothing changes. So yeah, I feel like maybe it's more, like I said, a wake up call. It's more on them now. If anything, I feel like it's more pressure on them, to be honest, more than relieved.
Yeah, that's true. There probably is a little bit more pressure. But I also think that, we'll get into that in a minute here. I think that it might be a good clean slate, so to speak, to kind of regroup and start again. So that actually leads me to the next point from our preview post. Shaun, you had actually discussed in that how Chicago can now simplify their strategy under new leadership. So perhaps you want to expand a little bit on that.
Yeah, you touched on it already with regards to King coming in and his approach to just let the players play. And that sort of fed right into what I was thinking for this week anyway. I thought this up when Colliton was still around, so a little bit of it is in hindsight and maybe not as relevant. But the reality is I started to see some quotes coming from Colliton, and it just was infuriating to see his rationalization for why he wasn't starting Strome. Despite any of our thoughts on why Strome wasn't playing and if we thought he was going to be traded or where we thought he'd be a good fit, despite any of that, hearing that Colliton was essentially sitting Strome because he wasn't hitting enough, it just brought a level of irrationality to his coaching decisions that I just couldn't get behind. And what I'm happy about with King being there now and what they can now finally do is, again, let these players play and put them in positions to succeed. In contrast there, as opposed to trying to get something out of Strome, who's not a physical body, who's not there to hit, he's there to produce, he's there to win faceoffs. So set your players up for success. And with King there, and with his approach and with his mentality, that's what it looks like he's going to allow these guys to do. He's going to put them in the best position for their own individual results, which is going to ultimately collectively result in better overall team results. And it's really that simple sometimes, right? But Colliton was sort of getting in his own way. And that was just proven, case in point, with essentially saying he's not playing Strome because he won't hit. That just never made sense. So obviously he's not there anymore. It looks like King's going to let these players play the way they should and put them in the best possible positions for their own sake. And that's just going to help Chicago in the long run.
Yeah, exactly. Just not adapting to the lineup that you have. And that's going to segue perfectly into kind of what I'd like to talk about a little bit. They didn't change their systems or anything really. It's a little bit too early for that with a new coach, but he did tweak their lineup a little bit. And I would like to touch base a little bit on that real quick here. So obviously he put DeBrincat and Kane back together, which just makes all the sense in the world. Dach as center. I will have to say I'm a little bit worried about Dach winning draws in this last game. I think he won like 1 of 9 or 2 of 8. It was not good. Okay, moving on. Tays and Kubalik together, again, chemistry, and I really like the energy that Hagel brings on that line, so that makes sense to me. You brought up Strome. Apparently he does, well, maybe not. I thought at the beginning of the game that he had favor with the new coach because he was put on the third line as center, and then Entwistle, MacKenzie Entwistle was actually moved up to that line along with Hardman, somebody hard to play against. That line made a lot of sense, but they really did struggle, and so did Strome. So we'll see moving forward. We talk about putting Strome in a place to succeed. It seems like they kind of have been, and he's not stepping up. More to follow on that as they go along. Fourth line, I'm not really sure why Philip Kurashev is there, but he hasn't really proven himself on the top line. So I could see why, the coach kind of says, you got to prove yourself to move up again. Carpenter, I think I've gone on and on about this, how I think he'd be great at center. They put him at center. I think he won 50% of his faceoffs. I could be wrong here. But I like this fourth line. I like Kara, Judar Kara as a big physical body on that fourth line. Borgstrom, Godet are out, but even in today, in the practice, they were kind of shuffling in. So it'll be interesting to see how they get in and how he kind of tweaks that lineup as we go here. Really quick on defense. I'm sorry, I know I'm talking a lot here. It's so fun to talk about the lines and pairings. Interesting. I thought that they had Riley Stillman up with Seth Jones. I think we all were kind of scratching our head on that one, but it seemed to kind of work. They played a really good, strong, solid game. McCabe and Murphy together again to see if their chemistry can continue to develop. DeHaan was kind of babysitting on the third pairing there with Gustafsson, although we'll get to this a little bit later that Gustafsson did not have much ice time. So overall, I just felt like it was a nice balance to the lineups and it made a lot of sense, Derek King, what he was thinking. And it'll be interesting to see how he continues to tweak this and evolve this as he goes. So Brooke, I guess the next question to you would be, his main message before he changes a lot of the systems and everything. Coach King's main message was just relax and simplify and just play hockey. And in this first game, do you feel like that worked? What do you feel about that?
So this might be kind of an unpopular opinion, but I felt like what I was watching last night was still a lot of the same as what we've already saw. They still have a lot of struggles. And so I didn't really see anything that stood out as like, oh my gosh, that was a huge change. Like I said, a lot of it to me felt like the same. They really can't score at all. And they kind of do seem still out of place and just not very good still. So I think Pittsburgh will probably be a good kind of measurement of that testament, since they are maybe a better team than Nashville. I think that's where things are really going to shine, honestly, on Derek King. So I don't know how I feel about that yet. I think it's kind of still too soon for that, but obviously something worked yesterday because they got a win, but we'll have to see how that works. And I do think, like I said, that will actually be a very good test against Pittsburgh, since they lost really badly to them the first game. So we'll see. So I don't know yet.
That is so true. We're all excited here because they actually won that game, but they were going on fumes and momentum and kind of the excitement of the change. So it's going to be a big test here to kind of see how it all plays out in the long run. So on that note, I'd like to move on a little bit to some player highlights. For my preview, I chose somebody that I wanted to highlight and talked about MacKenzie Entwistle. So even though he was waivers exempt status at the beginning of the season, he surprised many, made the team out of training camp, and he's since suited up for all but one of the Blackhawks' 13 games. Adam Godet has only played 7 games. We talked about Strome. He's only played in 6 games. But Entwistle appeared to have the favor of Jeremy Colliton, and now he played for 2 years with King in Rockford. So things are looking pretty good for him. Stable on the fourth line for the most part. We just talked about how he got moved up to the third line. 2 goals and 1 assist in not the last game, but the 2 games before that. So good for him that he's doing well, and he seems to be looking really good. Although unfortunately he did leave the game with I thought it was a knee-on-knee hit, but it sounds like they're calling it an ankle injury. So I hope that it's nothing major and that Entwistle can get back into the lineup soon. So he was kind of my player highlight for this week. I thought he did well. Brooke, I'd like to discuss Erik Gustafsson a little bit with you. This last game, he only played 6 minutes and 21 seconds of ice time, and he made some mighty mistakes in the last couple games before that. So what do you think about Gustafsson's play, and is it maybe time for him to go?
I feel like the spirit of Greg is coming in through this episode, because I feel like at this point he would have said Gustafsson stinks, because that's what he always says. And you know what? I think he overstayed his welcome. The second stand got him back. And it's not like an indictment on him, really. It's just he's not really the best fit for this team, to be honest. I think we've already established that from his last visit here. Yeah, I do think it's time for him to go. And I think when Wyatt Kalynuk comes back, I do think he might go. I think he's been a fill-in because Kalynuk got hurt. But yeah, he's not good. And I feel like even if he plays for 30 seconds, it's going to be a problem. I think even 3 minutes seems like a little bit too long. So, I mean, good for Derek King for kind of acknowledging that a little bit and not kind of overplaying that. But yeah, like Greg said, Greg would say he stinks. We're done. We've been through this. Yeah, it's time for him to go.
It looks like his number is his time might be a little bit limited. Like you said, Kalynuk, I really hope he's on his way back soon. And Caleb Jones too. So yeah. So well, we have to highlight another player or two here. And who do you think we're going to go with Shaun, right? Of course, we have to talk about goaltenders. Marc-Andre Fleury played 3 games this week, while Lankinen played a good game against Nashville. So maybe you could touch base on both of these guys and basically tell us who you think should get the net in the next couple games.
Yeah, it's nice to see both of them playing a little better than they were to start the season. But to sort of echo something Brooke said earlier in the episode, there's still issues with this lineup, and goalies are included in that discussion. Recency bias would suggest that Lankinen should have the net next game. I mean, he got the win with them over the Predators, and obviously that should be rewarded. And I mean, I've been quoted as saying that even before the season, that just let the goalie who's winning continue to play it. You don't have to make it more complicated than that. But, and this is a big but, because you can make a case for both of these goalies on any given night, but they're playing the Pittsburgh Penguins. Marc-Andre Fleury, a former Pittsburgh Penguin, who got lit up the last time they played the Pittsburgh Penguins. This is a proven pro. He's a proven vet. He's one of the most successful in the league in the past 2 decades for a reason. He's going to be hungry. He wants to get back in that net, and he wants to win. He wants to show the Penguins that was a fluke as opposed to the norm. He wants to prove that he's there for a reason and that he can still get the job done. So you want to add to that momentum by getting Fleury back between the pipes, give him a chance to regain his confidence, and let him put on a show for the home crowd here and really show what he can do and why he's there in Chicago now. So to me, I don't think it's disrespectful to Lankinen. Lankinen's still young. He still has a lot of learning to do. And again, he's going to get a lot of that learning from Fleury. Get Fleury back in that net. Let him have a chance. Show him that you have confidence in him. And it's only going to infuse it and allow him to shine through with his own confidence against the Penguins. Get Fleury in that.
Plus, we want to be able to see his new awesome goalie mask.
God, if any of you have not seen this on Twitter, it is a phenomenal mask. It's going to look awesome with his pads. Yeah, I'm excited for that too. And I'm 100% in agreement with you, Shaun. I think that's maybe why they played Lincoln in the last game, because that start should be in Pittsburgh, or against Pittsburgh should go to Fleury. Yay, I'm excited. Okay, so Brooke actually on the preview post wanted to talk about a little bit about the power play. It started out really good and now it's kind of gone cold. So tell us a little bit more about that.
I'm sorry. I feel like all of our viewers are going to be like, girl, all she does is highlight the power play and face us. But you know what? It's a problem. So I got to keep talking about it. I'm sorry. So the power play, they went 3 straight games without a goal. That's a problem to me, because they can really only score 1 or 2 goals a game, average maybe at best. And if they don't score on the power play, it doesn't look like they're going to win much. It seemed like Nashville was maybe kind of a fluke because they won in overtime, but just kind of like a power play, I guess. But I don't know. That needs to improve immensely. I feel like if the power play is our best chance of winning, and that's what's kind of kept us in games, even though it didn't come out as winning, then it's got to improve. And Nashville, they had actually a lot of good looks yesterday. I'll give them that. Saros played out of his mind. He was awesome. So it's like encouraging still, but got to get out of this hole. I feel like 3 games was too long. It's too big of a drought. Got to get back on the horse. Pittsburgh, I know their penalty kill has had some struggles, so let's see about that. I'm excited to see that.
Okay, so Brooke's key to winning next couple of games is get that power play on fire again, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it
is. Okay, so I guess we should bring up, we didn't with our player highlights, but I'd like to talk about Seth Jones. is the quarterback of the top power play unit. He really has been able to get a number of assists in that regard. Let's see, I think he's leading all defensemen with 11 points right now, but they are all assists. Shaun, are you okay with this? What are you thinking about Seth Jones here? Or do you think that he needs to start contributing some goals?
Well, I think given the hype that this guy had coming into the season, he should be coaching, managing, scoring, and saving every single night. So that's what I think about what Seth Jones is doing and what he's not doing. But in all seriousness, no, I'm not too worried about it being all assists at this point. I mean, if that's what he's there to do, and if he can contribute in any which way, that just simply means that other people are putting in the back of the net. So that's okay with me. I'm not one to think that goals are necessarily that much more important as far as the stat line goes. Obviously, they're what lead the way in terms of making a team win or lose any given game. But the reality is, if Jones is getting the assists, then it means someone else is getting the goal. So I'm not overly concerned that he's not the one putting him in the back of the net. But as the season progresses here, we do need to see a heightened level of confidence from him. And with that means I want to see more attempts on net and I want to see more conversions. But it's not something I'm overly worried about, no.
Can I kind of say something to that? I thought this question was kind of interesting because I saw some fans talking about this yesterday, and you guys have probably seen it too. Some people were like, oh, Seth Jones has been fabulous because he has 11 assists. I'm not going to argue that. That's very good, actually. But my issue with that argument to me is the Blackhawks don't pay him to score goals. They pay him to play defense. And right now that -8 is not good. If we could get on that roaming Yossi kind of thing where you can score goals and defend well, that's great. So I'm not really focused, I think, on him scoring the next goal or getting the next assist. I just want him to defend well. And I don't feel like that's been kind of on and off so far this season from him.
That's why I think he's such a polarizing guy, Brooke. Sorry to jump in here, but because of how offensive he can be, it seems to cloud a lot of what he doesn't do well. And that seemed to be the case for years now, but a lot of it's been hidden away because he keeps getting points and his teams are doing okay with him there. We've witnessed with our own eyes what happens when the rest of the team doesn't show up. He to us, obviously, is not doing his job, but the problem is he was brought in to sort of produce, and that's why a lot of people think he's doing his job. And I agree with you, Brooke. He's not, because that's not what he's there for.
Yeah. Yeah, you're like you said, he's so polarizing. It's really tough because he's also playing the toughest assignments and the most minutes, and I'm sure it's been difficult to adjust to a new system and a new team. So I'm kind of torn, to be honest with you. There's sometimes where I'm like, oh, give the guy a break. And then there's other times where I'm like, why didn't you shoot? Or, why didn't you do this? Or you messed that up. And so just like everybody, I guess. But yeah, he's getting paid a lot of money. So obviously we're going to focus on him for sure. Okay, so Brooke brought up the power play. And of course I have to go with the other side of special teams and tout the penalty kill, because they are still killing it on this penalty kill. I think I brought it up a couple shows ago, but I got to highlight it again. So in the last 4 games since we last met, they've only given up 1 goal on 11 tries on the penalty kill. And on the whole season, the Blackhawks have allowed 5 goals on 42 attempts. And that is good for 88.1% success rate. And it's also 5th in the league. So it's definitely a strong point right now. And I think it's something that those that contribute on the penalty kills should take a lot of pride in, because that's an important part of the game. And I think, everybody's like, oh, the power play, but this is very important as well. So keep up the good work in that regard. So anyway, we are actually almost to the end of our show here. We are to our shootout questions, which I think that we all really love this segment. So let's get straight to some of our shootout questions here before we wrap things up. And this one, actually, I know that we're supposed to answer these kind of short and sweet and quick, but I put this one first because we might actually want to expand on it a little bit more, but still try to keep it short and sweet. If you could change one thing about Derek King's lines and pairings from Sunday's Predators game, what would it be? We talked about the tweaks lines, but what would you maybe change up, Brooke?
I actually was okay with the lines he put out. Just the one change I think I would make is switching out Dach on the first line. I don't like him there because he's had so many issues winning a faceoff. I'd rather put Taze in that role because he's always been a first line center and that's what he does well at. So that's probably the only change I would make. Okay, switch up Dach and Taze. How about you, Shaun?
Looks like they're already doing it based on the lines at practice, but I was going to say get Borgstrom into the lineup and see what he can do with a new vibe in that locker room. So again, looks like they're already doing it, and I'm happy to see how that works out.
Okay, cool. I guess I've definitely already said that I'm a little bit concerned about Dach on the first line center there. But I will also add that, again, I'm not real sure that that's a good fit for Philip Kurashev on the fourth line. I'd like to see him move up in the lineup, and he did have a good game and blocked an awesome shot. So we'll see if he does actually prove that he can move his way back up. Okay, good answers there. Power play. Power play has gone 3 straight games without a goal. We talked about this. Who will score the next power play goal? Shaun.
Seth Jones.
Ooh, ooh.
Ooh. Okay.
Woo, that's a good one. Okay, Brooke.
I'm gonna have to say Kubalik. He's been kind of dry for a bit now, and then he had 6 shots on goal the last game. I think he's kind of knocking on something, but he needs to score again. So I'm gonna go with him.
Yeah, it's easy to say DeBrincat, but I think I might have to agree with you, Brooke. I think he had Kubalik had a number of shots on goal, and even though he's on the second power play unit, I have a feeling that he's going to break through real soon. I think I might agree with you there on Kubalik. Okay, Dach got in some trouble this past week. What was it, 2 or 3 penalties this past game? How many penalties? It was a kind of tongue-in-cheek question from Brooke, but still, let's do it. How many penalties is Dach going to take this week? There's 2 games. Brooke.
I'm gonna say 1. At least 1.
Okay, Shaun.
2. Both are going to come in the same game.
Ooh.
Oh, okay.
It's got to be that high sticking penalty, right? It seems like he keeps getting that one.
Yeah, I think that he might be. He had a tough game, but I think he's going to bounce back, and I'm going to say 0.
Ooh.
Going out on a limb there. There's only 2 games. We'll see.
Yeah.
All right. Blackhawks management was asked this week if the season is lost. Do you think it's lost, Shaun?
Obviously a loaded question, but I'll simply state it. I'll say no, because there's still a lot that they can gain and progress through.
Okay, Brooke?
I'm going to say yes as far as standings and playoffs go, but not lost in the fact that people or players can still develop and learn, like Shaun said.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna expand on that. I'm gonna say absolutely ditto. No playoffs, but I think that they're gonna learn and grow a lot this year, this season. How can they not, right?
All they do is learn.
Okay, just a couple more questions here. Who gets the next call up from the IceHogs? And we know Reese Johnson got called up again today. I don't know what they just seem to really like him. So he doesn't count. We got to pick somebody else. Who do you think is next? And this is, of course, just luck, but whatever. Well, maybe not. Brooke?
Okay, you guys probably know who I'm going to say, right? Alex Nylander. I don't know something. And I know that makes no sense, but I don't know. Like I said, I feel like he's either got to prove something or get traded. And I feel like at this point, he's already had the NHL experience. I think he might be the one that gets called up before Reichel.
Okay, I like it. It's a good pick. How about you, Shaun?
On the flip side of the latter part of what Brooke just said, I don't know how you don't reward Reichel for what he's been doing down there in the AHL. The Hawks have nothing to lose. Reichel's proving as valuable as he is at the AHL level. Let him have some fun up here in the NHL.
Brandon Hagel and I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank, you guys. Who else just got? Oh, MacKenzie Entwistle. If their injuries are a little bit more long term, I'm with you, Shaun. I think that they should. What do they have to lose? See what Reichel has to give.
Yes.
So that would be my opinion there.
I'd be so happy with that too. Want to point that out.
Okay, so nobody would be unhappy with anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, last question. The Blackhawks play the Pittsburgh Penguins, and by the time this drops, they will actually play the Pittsburgh Penguins later today, Tuesday night, and the Arizona Coyotes on Friday, the only team that has a worse record than the Blackhawks. So how many wins this week, Shaun?
Well, I'm going to say at least 1 because they're going to win tonight against the Penguins with Fleury and net and Jones getting a power play goal.
Okay. So you just going
okay.
Just going with 1.
So they're going to lose to Arizona. Okay, Brooke.
Yeah, I'm saying 1-2, and something was telling me it's not going to be against Arizona. That seems like a complete trap game. As a team that's probably worse than us, it seems like it's like a given that they should and they probably won't win it. Just our luck.
Man, if they lose that game, I'm going to be so disappointed. Okay, so I'm gonna actually go with, I think that the win in Arizona and overtime loss, Penguins. So 3 points, 1 win.
One win. That's what we keep going off of. It's just one.
We shall see, right? But here's the thing: never a dull moment, and we got some excitement now. A new head coach, a breath of fresh air, and we'll see. So that's going to do it for our show tonight. We have a Brooke, Shaun, myself. We thank you all for watching. We encourage you to subscribe, follow, like, listen, ask us questions in the comments section. We're happy to answer those questions. And here's hoping for better days ahead and some more wins for the Chicago Blackhawks. So thank you all and have a good day.